Welcome to Sipping Success, the ultimate podcast for all things beverage and alcohol. We are here to quench your thirst for insights, analysis, and a splash of entertainment. Get ready to dive into the world of beverages with us. From the latest trends to in-depth discussions with industry leaders, we've got it all covered. Whether you're a connoisseur or a curious sipper, Sipping Success is your go-to guide. Join us as we uncork knowledge, raise a glass to innovation, and help you elevate your brand to new heights. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's sip success together. Tune in to Sipping Success and drink in the wisdom. Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by Mushroom Media, the go-to digital media agency for all things marketing. From crafting captivating campaigns to decoding social media sorcery, Mushroom Media is here to empower your brand and help you scale. So whether you're brewing, distilling, or concocting the next big thing, Mushroom Media has a solution for you.
We are very happy on this episode here to welcome and introduce Amy Gardner. Amy Gardner is president of Wine Talent. So welcome, Amy. And I understand you're right in the heart of wine country, which is here in California. And let's get right into this. Can you tell us a little bit about your history and background in the wine talent industry?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, of course, for inviting me along. It's always great to be talking about wine, talking about getting jobs in the wine industry, and also the greater alcoholic beverage industry. So thank you. So I have owned and run Wine Talent for almost the last 20 years. I started in 2004, so we're coming up on our 20th anniversary. Right. Wine Talent really is a small home-based operation. I'm working from my home office, and I've worked from home for 20 years practically. I do have a few people who help me as needed. So I have people who help me source candidates, and I have people who help me with some marketing. But it's something where I'm involved in almost every step of the business. But how I got into wine recruitment, I grew up in the country. We had a farm, we had plants, we had animals, and I always enjoy the agricultural side of the world. And I think how plants are growing is very exciting and interesting to me. And so I'm a little bit of a science geek. So I went to UC Davis and I have my degree in botany. So botany is definitely the science of plants, but I also had a few other things I was interested in, including art history and education. So after that, I started working in laboratories. I thought I was going to be doing research. I was going to be out looking at fields of plants and figuring out what their taxonomy was. But it's always interesting how people's careers change. And I think that's what I enjoy about my business, Wine Talent. But from there, I started to recruit people into science positions. So I became a recruiter. A recruiter is more of a business position than a science position, but it's important to know the background, understand what science aspects of a job someone needs, what skills they need to bring to it. So I started doing scientific recruitment and loved that. I really loved being a recruiter. So I was out talking to clients and I was talking to people looking for a job. So it's got a little bit of a matchmaker kind of role. And from there, after I worked at that firm for many years, and then they asked me to start up the Sacramento office. So with that, they allowed me to expand. I was doing the scientific aspects for them. I was also doing IT. I was doing engineering. I was doing healthcare, and we had some telecom. So a big business. And I had 4 offices I was running, and I was going back to the corporate office of a very large privately held company. I was going back to corporate often, and I was also on the re-engineering committee. So the re-engineering means that you're going to be changing how a company runs. And so I saw how my old company wanted to change how we ran. And I had built a lot of that business, especially the wine business for them. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to jump off the corporate ladder. I'm going to go back and just focus on the wine industry. And the reason I focus on the wine industry is There's the science, there's the art to it. It is a beautiful product, but also it's all about the people. So in the wine industry, having called on all different industries, the wine industry, people call you back. They find they have a relationship. They want to help people out. A very famous saying in the wine industry is a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think that's very true of the wine industry. So I really enjoy the wine world and the people in it. And so now I recruit on all executive and upper level management positions. And I work with companies. Every placement I've had has been in the US, but I do work with international companies that are looking to bring their product into the US, or I work with companies that are maybe they have different subsidiaries, and I work with their US component and hire people into the US.
Okay. Well, wonderful. That was a great summary of your background there. Just a couple quick things here. So it sounds like the wine industry is just a small town. Is that right?
It is a small town, and I grew up in a small town. I went to a small school, and I had a very small major at UC Davis. So I have found I gravitate towards small groups.
Yeah. And so one other thing, the science aspect. Can you shed a little bit of light of like being able to know the language of science, because wine is such a science? You mentioned also an art, but can you talk to that science aspect that might help you out?
Yeah, so in my science world that I was in before, I was doing fermentations. So I wasn't doing wine fermentations, but I understand what goes into a successful fermentation. And I had the chemistry, I had the biology, and I understood how those aspects were important to the wine industry. The wine industry, most people that go into a winemaking job or a viticulture job will have a science background. If they go to just want to be in wine, they get a viticulture and enology degree. So they understand how to grow the grapes and they understand how to make the wine. So there's several schools that have very good programs, including UC Davis, Fresno State, Cal Poly, Cornell has a great program too. And so having the science part is very important. A lot of people get into the wine industry outside. Hey, I have a history degree, or I don't have a degree at all, and they start working in the wine industry. Sometimes people come from the restaurant world where they may be involved with the wine program. And sometimes they come up through more of the production side. So you get a lot of different aspects to it. So I just feel that the science helps understanding what goes into winemaking, what goes into growing great grapes. But there's other aspects. So I'm placing CFOs, I'm placing chief operating officers, marketing. There's a lot of, they like to say it's easy to make wine, it's hard to sell it. So there are a lot of sales positions I work on as well, like national sales managers, senior VP of sales, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. And so with you being a recruiter and handling all those different roles that you could potentially fill, what's the best kind of go-to strategy for yourself?
So I am always networking. So I think having a strong network, having those people that you can think of right away that might be either good for a position or might be a great resource for you. So as I said, the wine industry is all about people and very good relationships. So people are very happy to help a friend who might be looking. I think one thing that why a company hires a recruiter, either they don't have the bandwidth to do it themselves, they don't have someone who's dedicated to doing a search, or they want to be able to contact people that maybe they wouldn't have the ability to. So I can call into almost anyone. Sometimes a company has a non-compete with a certain company, but I can call into their neighbor. I can call into their chief competitor and make those calls and see if someone is interested in making a move.
Okay, great. And so since you've been in it since 2004, can you share with us like any any changes that have happened that you've had to adapt to over the years?
Well, I think definitely social media has been a big player. It's not so much that I'm going on Facebook to, hey, let me find my CEO, but it is about having a presence. It's about having developing your online persona. And I think that's true for me as much as it is for a company or a potential candidate. I think during this time, we had the situation where maybe a young person was putting a lot of information out on social, and then all of a sudden it bit them because the party picture that they had, or something that maybe was not something nice to say, made it so they didn't get a job. So that was a learning thing. And I would say we talked a little bit about AI earlier before this, but I think a lot of people are using AI to write their cover letters. I think they're using AI to write their resumes. And you have companies that have applicant tracking system, which I would say that's really just AI.
Yeah.
So I think that the work, a lot of the work is being done without anyone's eyes being on it, or anyone's, I don't know, their soul being put into it. So
Yeah.
and I would say with the whole thing about applicant tracking systems, to me, it's disappointing that companies don't even respond to people who apply for a job. I try, if I was saying a tactic, I want to be very much contacting people that have applied. I want to be responsive to people, because my competition, mostly companies that are recruiting, are very unresponsive. People feel it's a black hole.
Okay. On the AI component, so it really just sounds like you're getting a lot of resumes. Maybe you're seeing a lot of resumes, and you said they lack soul. So would you help somebody? Would you kind of stop them and say, hey, we need to recraft this to sound like a human being?
Definitely. If I'm getting that vibe, I think a lot of resumes are somewhat soulless. Whoever makes them, people hate writing a resume. I'm strange and I love writing resumes. But I would say, if I see someone, a lot of times people will contact me when they're looking to get into the wine industry. They're not in the wine industry today. And I'll take a look at their resume and I'll give them advice. I do also have articles on my website to say, hey, if you're going to get in the wine industry, your resume should have the word wine on it somewhere, hopefully at the top. So, the articles are helpful for people to be looking at, but I'm always happy to give advice. But if I give advice and then someone calls and hasn't done anything with that advice, it makes me remember that, maybe they're not as on top of their game as they should be.
Yeah, good point there. What sort of challenges or obstacles have you maybe faced recently, or if there's something that just always really sticks out in your career that you've faced as a business, as a professional, and overcome to the point where you're just really proud of?
Yeah, I would say early on, I could tell I needed to make a step up. Previously, I had been in technical recruiting, so I was putting people in for a contract placement. So when I started, I was focusing more on assistant winemakers, probably that second rung, so the assistant to position, so assistant to the director, or assistant, a controller, and not the CFO. So I think the thing that was a hurdle, I just needed to figure out, how do I effectively take that step up to be working on the next rung up the ladder and the top rungs on the ladder. And that was probably it. Just I think I had to show I have done it. I have to show I have the skills to do it, and I have the database of people that I can bring in. I would say one of the other hurdles or challenges that we've had, everyone's faced COVID and the pandemic. And the pandemic, when the March 2020 happened, I had several positions that were open. We were about to hire someone, was about to start a new job. everything stopped. And I would say everything stopped completely for me for 3 months. So there was nothing going on. It was a time where I needed to rebuild, I could rebrand. I definitely did a lot of networking during that time. But that was, I mean, when you have no business for 3 months, you got to kind of regroup. And the interesting thing about the pandemic was the wine industry is considered an essential business.
Mm.
So people that worked at a winery did not take a day off. I don't know if some of the places you wouldn't have even stopped because it is a production. You're got
Yeah.
wine, that valve is turned on and the wine is flowing and it's got to get in the bottles. And if you don't do what you need to do, things are going to be really screwy. So it was interesting to kind of navigate through helping my clients interview someone when you had social distancing, when you had masking, when you had all those components. But it was just, okay, let's look at what we have to do, what we should do, and what a client and a candidate feels comfortable doing. So I would say it was a huge obstacle for almost all of us.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. And
I just want to add one note to that.
yeah, go ahead.
So prior to the pandemic, I was always doing a lot of Skype and FaceTime video interviews.
Uh-huh.
And for me, that was common practice. For me, with the advent of work from home, everyone's much more understanding about, oh, you can do business remotely. Oh, we can make a
Right.
connection with someone, and I don't have to be in the room with them.
Right. Yeah, great point there. Yeah, it's interesting how work from home has really kind of adapted and become the new normal now. Can you discuss any partnerships or collaborations you've formed over your career in wine that has, whether it's helped you personally or helped grow your business?
Right. So I think there's some great organizations I've become involved with. Many years ago, I was part of Women for Wine Sense, which was great. Getting to know, you had different panels. I helped set up their human resources roundtable, and that was a great way to bring people in and collaborate. That was also very important during the pandemic because it was all of the human resources for various wineries, and people could share what they're doing and how best to approach hiring during a pandemic. I'm currently committee chair for the Association of African American Vintners. So that's been very rewarding. And that definitely, as we all need to increase diversity and have more access points for new people into the industry, the Association of African American Vintners has been very helpful. I think it's also allowing new people to join the wine industry who maybe weren't able to kind of get access in the past. So being inclusive in the wine industry is very important. And I would say something that was important for me early on was I had a large company that was in the Napa Valley, and we worked very well together. And so I started working on a few positions, and then it became where I did all of their recruiting for all of their management and above positions. And that was great. I mean, it built my business. I have to thank that company for that business and having them trust me to do that. And I think we built a great team. A lot of the people I placed are still there, which I like to see. And I think thriving business. So I think that sometimes it's different ways to meet people, get to build relationships. I think that's what's helpful in the to get, for success.
That's great. And would there be any advice that you'd give to anybody in the wine recruiting industry?
I think you have to be open to definitely building long-term relationships. It's not a flash in the pan business. I would say that you want to be selective about who you work with, both as a client and as a candidate. It is, as I said, it's a small business. You pointed that out. Everyone knows everyone to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So it is all based on your reputation, both my reputation it's the company's reputation and it's a candidate's reputation. So you want to, I think we should all do what we say. And I think that comes to fruition when you are successful in the wine business.
That's great. And so, last couple questions here, and to kind of dovetail off of what you just said. So, maybe let's dive into like, what are the values that you have established in growing your business over the last 20 years? You mentioned it's a small town and getting back to people and whatnot. So maybe let's talk about and kind of really understand the values of what makes your company tick.
Right. So first of all, I'm a recruiter, so I'm dealing with people's companies and understanding what's making them succeed or fail and how they want to make changes to be successful. I also have candidates who are happily employed somewhere and they don't want anyone to know that they might be looking. So I would say my overriding thing is to be confidential. If I can't keep information secret, confidential, I wouldn't have a business. And that is what people expect from a recruiter. So someone who has loose lips is going to sink lots of ships. So we want to make sure that when someone tells me something, unless they're comfortable with it being public knowledge, it does just stay in the vault.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's great advice.
Right.
And so again, thanks for joining us, for joining Sipping Success. It's been a great conversation. We want to make sure that people can reach out to you in our community here. So can you summarize like how people can connect with you, how they can reach out to you to partner or work with you? Let us know how we can reach out.
Right, definitely. So I definitely encourage people to reach out to me. I would say first stop would be winetalent.net. So that's my website. It's winetalent.net. The .net's the hardest thing to remember, but that's me. I'm on LinkedIn. If I can't make myself easily findable, I'm not doing my job. So go to LinkedIn, go to Amy Gardner, Wine Talent. I should pop up. And I'm happy to have people send their resume, get in touch with me through email. And that's amy@winetalent.net is me. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I've been a little quiet on Instagram lately, but I'll rev it back up. So.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Amy. Amy Gardner with Wine Talent, the president of Wine Talent. And we want to thank you for your time today. It's really been a nice conversation with you, learning all the ins and outs of wine recruiting. Thanks again, Amy.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And that's a wrap on another insightful episode of Sipping Success, brought to you by Mushroom Media. We hope our discussions have left you thirsting for more knowledge in the world of beverages and alcohol. Stay connected with us on social media for updates. And remember, the journey to success is best enjoyed one sip at a time. Keep exploring trends, connecting with leaders, and scaling your brand. Until our glasses meet again, cheers to your continued success. And may your cups always runneth over with inspiration. We'll catch you in the next episode.